Each and every single day, more and more Americans are waking up to the fact that the Fed's dream, the Fed's goal, the Fed's desires are coming true. And we're already starting to see some of the effects of what the Fed and what the top 1% want to invoke and deploy into the financial markets, into the financial space, that will ultimately come after, number one, first and foremost, low income Americans. Number two, middle income Americans. And this attack on low income America, this attack on middle income Americans, this is a well coordinated effort. And I got to hand it to them. These people in charge, they are executing, and this is, make no mistake, this is not by accident, folks. So we're already seeing some of the effects here. Tuesday, data shows that a number of U.S. job openings fell. 1.1 million job openings fell in August. We were already warned. We covered this in my previous videos. I mean, you guys can go back. You can see I'm not making this stuff up. Couple videos, several videos back. I don't remember. I know I've said this more than once. The Fed has predicted that 1.2 million jobs will be lost. Now, we're seeing here, as of yesterday, this report came out indicating that 1.1 million job openings. So these are job openings. 1.1 million job openings has fallen in August. So this is a precursor. Pay attention, folks. These are some of the signs. These are some of the warning signs that we're seeing from the Fed. And we've seen very similar signs in the housing market, right? So the first sign with the housing market was we saw a reduced number of mortgage applications, right? So you look at the process. When someone goes to buy a house, more than likely, majority of homes being purchased nowadays, people are using mortgages. Granted, the Fed is continuously raising interest rates, making mortgages more and more expensive, which is driving down the demand for purchasing of homes, right? And so where do you first see the demand reduction? Generally speaking, you'll see demand reduction show up in fewer people showing up for open houses, fewer people applying for mortgages. So if you see fewer people applying for mortgages, guess what's likely to follow? Fewer sales. Okay, so now if we translate that into the job market, what do we have here? Tuesday, with data showing that the number of U.S. jobs opening falling 1.1 million in August. This is the biggest drop since April 2020 that the central federal banks want to see as it seeks to cool the economy and elevated inflation. So this is literally confirming that the Fed wanted this. The Fed wants to inflict pain onto American households, low income Americans, middle income Americans, and we are seeing this. So what I mean by the precursor that I'm talking about, this 1.1 million jobs, this 1.1 million fewer job openings means that there are 1.1 million more jobs that will not be filled. These are basically now hiring signs and job posts on LinkedIn, job posts on careerbuilder.com, Indeed, you name it, your favorite job hosting website. They're pulling these listings off. So companies, including Walmart, Shopify, Peloton, all announcing layoffs. And these are just a few companies off the top of my head that I happen to remember that are planning and executing layoffs. And this is just the start. So when we see job openings being removed, 1.1 million, it's funny how close that 1.1 million number of job openings that has been removed is so close to the 1.2 million jobs that the Fed is predicting that will be lost as a result of the actions that they're taking on our economy, the rising of interest rates. Heck, we're even seeing the currency market, the Bank of England, the pound, the euros. These currencies are collapsing, and banks are getting scared. Banks are questioning account holders and their whereabouts. What are you doing with the money that you're trying to take out of the bank? What are you going to spend it on? Do you plan on making more withdrawals from the bank? Why is it any of your freaking business, these banks asking us, what are we doing with our own money? If I decided to, pull all my money out the bank and shove it under my mattress, I don't need to be telling these banks what I'm doing with my money. And it's just almost pisses me off what these banks are doing. So, with this 1.1 million fewer jobs coming off the market, expect that the next massive notice, the next major announcement that is likely to come are massive waves of layoffs. This is, the next phase of the Fed's plan. Rising unemployment rates and the continuous inflicting of pain on American families. Thousands of people have been displaced from their mobile homes not too long ago, thanks to Hurricane Ian. Devastated mobile home parks, left people homeless, flooded out, countless number of, families from their homes. Can you imagine just coming home one day and your entire, where you lay your head is just completely underwater? 16 inches of water in some cases. I mean, unbelievable. And, no matter how much preparation you had in the house in terms of maybe, food in the pantry, canned meat, whatever the case was, generators, all of these preparation materials just gone, wasted, probably out somewhere down the street, thousands, if not half a mile away from the home. These floods, these hurricanes, these natural disasters, they're awful. And this is why it is so important to have diversification. And, I'm not a huge fan of the direction that some of these banks are headed. There's some good banks out there. I'll be honest with you. There are some good banks out there, but you got to be wise. You got to keep an eye out on what banks to trust to I don't know if I should say to use the word trust, but I guess you are kind of trusting them to some extent if you put any kind of money in there, right? But one of the things I like is I don't like to have one bank. I would probably have to sit down and list all the different banks I do business with, because I have so many different bank accounts because I don't trust them. But I use diversification in order to protect the family. I would never have all my assets in a single institution. Just isn't. I don't think it's good business. I don't think it's wise to do that, especially not with the direction that we're headed. And so we're seeing a rapid decline in Treasury yields this week, and this week it's seen reflecting bearish trades being flushed in a market lacking reasonable liquidity amid a highly volatile macro and policy backdrop. Keyword being liquidity. And a lot of these banks are getting scared. They're concerned. Wells Fargo is shutting down bank accounts that they deem to be, what did they call it? Wells Fargo shutting down bank accounts that they deem to be high risk is the term that they used. Yeah. So I'm waiting for more and more banks to come out with their reasoning for shutting down bank accounts, and the lack of liquidity that some of these banks are finding themselves in. They're having, to some degree, a liquidity crisis. And so this is one of the reasons why savings account interest rates are going higher. They're trying to entice people to bring money into the bank because the banks need the cash. People are pulling cash out, and they need to be able to fulfill their quota of cash on hand so that they can provide the cash to the account holders when they're requesting withdrawals. The bank doesn't have all of your money at any given point in time. If we were all to go to a bank collectively and say, hey, I want to withdraw all the cash out, the bank would collapse. The bank would collapse because it doesn't have enough money. The bank only holds, let's just say, the bank's really only required to hold about 10% of your money anyway. So if they're only required to hold 10% of my money, 10% of your money, 10% of everyone else's money that's in this bank, whatever bank you happen to bank at, and they're lending it out, because the bank doesn't make money just holding on to your deposit. The bank is making money by charging other people interest. So, most of these banks, a lot of these banks, They have visas, Visa cards, Visa credit cards, MasterCards, and they have personal loans that they provide. They have mortgages that they issue. They have all sorts of fancy ways to package debt. And the banks are selling debt to the American people. And the problem is, more and more Americans are realizing that they've been sold a bag of goods that are worthless. They're wasting their money and purchasing things that they believe to be assets, whether they know it or not. They're purchasing the things that they think are assets, but they're really not. Or maybe they're not even aware of what an asset is. Meanwhile, they are unprepared for this economic collapse and this economic consolidation that we're embarking upon. And so more and more Americans, through this massive wave of layoffs, are going to find themselves in a very, very uncomfortable position. And this is exactly what the 1% wants. This is exactly what the Fed wants. This is going to be a very, very painful realization for many, many families. So expect massive layoffs to come. This is a huge update. 1.1 million U.S. job openings have fallen in August. Are you prepared? Are you prepared for your employer to let you know your job may not be there next week? That's a serious question. I want you guys to just take a moment and literally ask yourself that question. What happens if your job isn't there tomorrow? If your job isn't there next week? What are you and your family going to do? What plans do you have in place? Can you survive for the next 3 to 6 months, maybe a year, maybe 2 years, maybe 5 years, depending upon how this plays out? There's a lot more coming down the pipeline. So let me know what you guys are thinking. Let me know what you guys are planning. Let me know if you guys need help planning. I want to continue to bring you guys updates and value and direction in this time of panic. So I say that this is a time of panic because a lot of people are panicking. But if you ask the people who are panicked, do you have a plan? Chances are the answer is no. So one of the best ways to eradicate a panic or anxiety and worry is to know what your next step is going to be. What's your plan B? What's your plan C? What's your plan D? What's your plan E? And the more prepared you are, the less you have to worry about. So think about these words, you guys. I'll see you on the next one. Be safe.